Hi guys, I'm Daryl. I'm the founder of Break the Limits. We help advisors to break their limits so they can make more impact and income. For the last few years, we've been helping advisors to achieve their first MDRT, multiple MDRTs, or even COT as well. My firm belief is that when you win your inner game, that's where you have massive success in life. That's exactly the reason why I'm interviewing high-performing advisors to understand their inner game, the inner world, understand the challenges so that I can inspire you to get your unique breakthrough as well. With that being said, let's get started with today's episode. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of this podcast, and today I'm here with Zann, right? In fact, she achieved her COT in the third full-time year in the business, and she's the youngest female COT achiever in her company. Without further ado, Zann, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi everyone, my name is Zann. So I've been in a business about 5 to 6 years now. Actually first joined in 2017 as a student advisor lah. Right, so back then I was in an internship program. 2017 as a year 2 student. I was introduced by my senior actually. So I stayed in hall, NUS Cambridge Hall, if some of you are familiar. Right, stayed in hall. My neighbor one day just opened up this opportunity to me saying there's an internship going on in this company. I really didn't know it was an insurance company also. So I just saw my agency name and then the company and so on. And I was like, okay, maybe I can just
Why not?
Try. Yeah, why not? And from then on, I didn't look back.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Right. So give the audience some context as to why this happened. Right. So at that point in time, I was in fact 3 months ago, I think 2-3 months ago, I was really looking into who are COT achievers that I can really learn from. And then, a mutual friend introduced Zann to me. And she was generous enough to share her time, experience, expertise, her entire insights, right? Which I really took a lot away from it. As a result of that, I decided to have this session here to further dig into her minds, right? So that you guys can extract some powerful gems from it. Without further ado, let's get into your background first.
Okay.
So, share with us, right, during your journey of being a student advisor the first 2 years, how was it like for you actually?
Actually, to be honest, right, as a student advisor, there wasn't really much work done. I think I really joined because, through the internship program, of course, I found out what I was doing, right, and I felt there was some value in it. So, however, as a student back then, I think what kept me going was because I had a student loan. And I knew I had to pay it off, right? So back then I was really just, trying to hit that student loan amount and didn't have much other aspirations. I was really just hit the amount and then get it paid off and then I'm done.
Right.
Yeah, so that was me for, as a student.
Yes, and that was 2 years, first 2 years.
First 2 years, yeah. Only when full-time then I started to get a bit more serious.
Ambitious and hungry. And what changed then?
Okay, I think practically speaking, because all of my peers were starting to work, I think most of them similar backgrounds, studied econs, business school and things like this. I just felt like I had to sort of match up, right? Of course, practical terms in terms of pay, salary, how I was progressing. So that was when I started to be like, okay, I better decide whether this career is really, really for me. If I do well in this first year, then perhaps that's something I can consider as a very long-term career path moving forward.
Right, which in fact, in the first year, you achieved your MDRT.
I did,
yeah.
Yes.
And share with us, right? After you achieved the MDRT, initially you were like, hey, shit, I need to prove to myself that this career is worth doing. Once you've done it, what kind of belief do you create for yourself?
Once I've done it, I just felt like actually do before, I think can do again.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what happened next was I think I kind of broke down exactly what I did, because I think it's important to reflect on whatever we achieved the past year, see what actually made it work so that I can replicate.
For sure. If you don't mind sharing with the audience, because a lot of them are advisors like yourself, what exactly do you do well that allowed you to replicate this in the second year of business, in fact, second full-time year? Right?
Okay, yes. So I think very first thing would really be the habits and routine. Also was a bit helpful that back in 2020, it was COVID. So there wasn't really much distraction going on, right? Nobody's really going out, asking you out. So at home, I have a very strict routine. And I think every day, basically we were taught to have this timetable, which we follow hourly or even half hourly. So I think firstly, habits are very important because being in a self-employed business like this, it's difficult to actually follow, right? And sometimes I think the hard part is that we are not only an employee to ourselves, we have to be employee, manager, and entrepreneur all at the same time.
100%.
Yeah, so I think that was something I tried to create for myself. I have the perfect habits every day. I think other things would be the systems also. So for example, exactly the sales process, how it should work, how many people should I meet every day, right? And finding out some statistics about my process also, right? Like for example, how many people do I have to meet in order to actually
serve them,
yeah, and then close a case, and then of course hit whatever goals I have to hit lah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're having systems, and the first one is habits. These two things pretty much good companies will provide to the guys, right? And then that's where you see some people achieve, some people don't. What do you think you have internally in you that able to consistently use these two things, the habits and the system, to achieve such greatness then?
For myself, I think I've always been very thankful that somehow I'm a bit more self-driven and a bit more self-disciplined. Right. I think the biggest problem with people not achieving goals is really the lack of discipline. And this is something that somehow I have come to practice, or it is pretty natural for me since I was younger.
Yeah.
And of course, like promises we make to other people as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which we will talk about it later on. I know she mentioned to me. Right.
Yeah.
So let's dig deeper. When you were younger, you mentioned that it was inculcated in you, the discipline. How was it inculcated, if you can recall?
If I can recall, discipline.
Yeah.
I think my parents were very strict, like to begin with. Okay, more like my mom was very strict on me. So back in school, really very strict lah. You know, every time come home, need to finish the work by what time, and then have to pack my bag before going to school the next day. All those kind of things. So it was very micromanaged. And I think subconsciously, somehow, I believe some of these things actually moved forward to my later years. Right. But I think discipline now, how I understand it would be, because that day I was actually asking a mentor, like, actually, how do you discipline someone, right? And then how can someone become more disciplined? And then, we do retirement planning for our clients, right? So retirement planning, we always look at, like, in the future, how much you're going to earn, and then stuff like this, how much you need to earn to reach a certain lifestyle. But I realized you don't really do that for yourself, right? And then actually, when I tried to do it for myself, I realized, wow, this is the amount I need. And when I break it down to the number of years left I have to work, and then the number of days, all the way down to the number of days, so number of years, number of weeks, and so on, then I realized every day really has an impact on your future thing. So the fact that you don't do anything today, you are really having like this, the gravity of it is bigger. Now that for example, if I need to earn $1,000 a day, if I don't work today and I just sleep in or like go out and play, and then I don't stay to my goals, right? Then this is like $1,000 compounded across how many more years, and it's going to affect whatever I need in the future.
If I may summarize for the audience listening, whenever you drop these golden nuggets right there, it sounds like, right, the fact that you have discipline is because you understand the severity of your goals.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So then from discipline, it sounds like I am willing to sacrifice today, honor my words and get it done because I know that the goal is non-negotiable.
Correct.
So now link it back to the next thing, which is, how do you create a goal for yourself that is so non-negotiable that you're willing to do whatever it takes? How do you do that?
How do I create a goal for myself that is so non-negotiable? I think it changes from time to time.
Of course.
Yeah. So of course, in the first year for me, it was like, first full-time year, it would be nice to clear my MDRT for the first time. It would be a nice narrative also, first full-time year and stuff like that. So that was my motivation. And of course, that goal was hence whatever MDRT was. Yeah, for the second year, of course, I always believe that you can't just do the first year and then you say that you can do. Yeah, precisely. So you have to do it thrice or something, right? Because first time is just by chance and then so on. So second year, that was my main purpose.
Beautiful.
Right. But of course, I got a bit more complacent, right? Because clear one time already, I just thought, I think can be done. Yeah, so maybe you can come to that later. But faced a bit of difficulties towards the end. Right. And then last year was different, right? So last year, I think, of course, that goal that I set for myself was more from external factors. So I think I'm the kind of person where, sometimes when someone challenges me for something, like, how about you go and try this thing? Then I'll just take it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I take it up, I know that I have things in place to know how to, potentially know how to reach that
Understand.
goal.
And that was the year of COT.
That was last year, yes.
Yes. Understand. So what I'm hearing from you, right, is that you're actually a very intentional person. Before doing everything, right, you start asking yourself, like, how can I create a narrative that excites me?
Yes, correct.
Right? And then this goal is probably a non-negotiable that I really want to fight for. Now the question is achievability. So for example, some people set goals that's too easy, achievable. Then they say, I want this goal. But on some end, some people set too far-fetched. They cannot achieve it. How do you balance that and set something that really challenges you and you're not sure whether can achieve, not achieve, but you still say, let's go?
Okay, maybe I use last year as an example.
Perfect.
Right? Because for example, clearing COT last year was definitely not intention from the start of the year.
Yeah, you told me about it also.
Yeah, so precisely. I think last year was mainly because I think first 2 years, we have allowances and all that. So my income was a certain level, right? But last year, I didn't have the allowance anymore. And I realized that I had to do a bit more in commissions to actually reach the same income. And of course, to me, it makes no sense that my third year, my income drops.
True.
So I know I had to do a certain higher commission, which still wasn't a COT standard, right? To actually hit there. Right. So that was that. However, I think along the way, I managed to clear my MDRT, IDA, whatnot, slightly earlier than the rest of the years. I cleared in August. right? And then I felt like, okay, still have some time to actually hit my whatever goal lah, to maintain my income. But I think back then someone actually challenged me to try for COT, right? And then that was when I decided like, okay, I think maybe I try to do. But of course the shortfall was very big, right? So this brings back to your question of like, how to make sure that this big goal is not too far.
Yeah.
And not too ridiculous.
Correct.
Right. So for me, it works to actually write everything down, actually see it before I actually commit. Right. Because I know that in my first maybe student years, sometimes you get fired up and then you say like, okay, everyone do MDRT together and then you not clear it because it's just too far. Right. Same. Last year was also very far. I think what helped was that because after being in this business for a while, I know that we need to see first before we actually commit. And I wrote down exactly lah. I know what's the shortfall to COT. I know what's my statistic. And then what I did was to write down, for example, write down names, write down shortfalls, write down like, exact case sizes and things like this. To be very clear that actually this number does add up and I'm able to do it. It's just whether I'm willing to put in the effort and the time to really go and grind it out lah.
Understand. Because so now what I'm hearing from you, right, is that you had the clarity and the certainty.
Yes.
Actually can one, right? But at the same time, it is a bit scary because never done before. True,
you're right.
So it's a stretch.
Correct.
So now the question is like, I see it's possible. The question is, do I want or not? And then and then eventually you say, I want to challenge myself. Let's go.
Correct.
So now that we are on this topic of COT, right, share with us, what was your struggle? Because everybody only see the good side. People praise them, validate them. What were some of the struggles that you faced during the COT year?
Of course, I think similar to everyone who is trying to hit their own goals, right? The struggle would be that sometimes all that you plan for not necessarily will just come to play, right? There will be fallouts. I mean, like people pull out of like the commitments, free look and then maybe sometimes you propose already, you thought can close, then just doesn't come in.
Yes.
Right. So of course, all these are some struggles. But I think also the biggest struggle is the mentality towards it.
What do you mean by that?
So for example, if the shortfall is very big and then you realize maybe you have 4 months, so by right, you usually split it up right, into a number of months. But sometimes towards the end, you realize you're left 1 month and then you're still only halfway there, right? Then I think the struggle would be like, oh shit, like should I continue doing or should I maybe like push it forward to next year instead?
Oh yes,
maybe just don't do already lah, right? Yeah, or like maybe just give up.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the biggest struggle. I mean, people pulling out and all that's our everyday business, right? And I mean, refill it, put it back, but I think the biggest struggle would be to constantly stay focused. Like, okay, this is the goal. You still must go and hit it.
Yes.
Don't suddenly give up just because you realize you're off track.
Understand.
Right.
You're not shortchanging your goal.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Cutting short to centurion.
Like, readjust.
Yeah, you can readjust it.
Yeah.
So share with the audience, right? How do you combat this problem then?
Okay, so okay, I'm not sure about everyone else, but for me,
share
it
your
was
experience.
Yeah, it was really like okay, because for me, I made a promise to my boss. I think it was one of those events that we have, and then there were drinks and all that, right? So of course, I think in the moment of like desperation, just like, I really gonna do my COT, how to do, and then suddenly everyone knew about it.
Yeah.
So I think once it's being declared out, everyone knows about it. Firstly, I mean, everyone can help you also lah. But my boss said this. I mean, in the course of drinks, it was just like, 31st December, I hear from you, I hear that text from you. So in my mind, towards that end, right, I remember that this was the only thing in my head. Like, okay, I promised him that 31st December, right, I will send him a text saying that I clear. So my mind is just like, wow, I cannot like 31st December say like, sorry, I never clear, I try my best, like next year I'll try again. It would just sound a bit lame lah.
Yeah.
I mean, firstly a bit lame, then I'll feel bad about it. I'll be even more demoralized the following year. So in fact, I think this was that one thing that was keeping me going, especially in the last month. Just like, I need to text this guy like I did it. On 31st December.
That's beautiful. Like what I'm hearing from you, right, is that your purpose and your why that you created, the narrative, right, of like, I will never apologize for breaking my promise.
Yeah.
That narrative put you through all adversities and struggles that you face in this career. Definitely is not an easy path, right? And with that being said, how do you bounce up so quickly then?
Bounce up so quickly?
Yeah, for every people who say no to you, or maybe everybody who say next time I'll think about it or whatever, that make you feel disappointed, rejected. How do you bounce up?
Okay, I think it's a mindset thing. So maybe a few pointers. Of course, I feel that generally when we prospect more people and we are working a lot more, right, naturally rejections will increase. For sure. So I don't see it as like a bad thing, because I think sometimes, it can go both ways lah. Some people might think like, hey, like I'm working so hard and then how come suddenly I got more rejections?
Exactly.
So that's mostly the case, right? Because like, wow, I work so hard and then still got so much, I think don't do already. But to me, I see it as a stats thing. Like, if you work more, if you're talking to 500 people, of course you get like 100 plus rejections. Because that's just math. right? So I think I had that in my mind all the time. So any rejection that came, I'm just like, it's okay. It's because I'm doing more work. Right?
And then you feel proud because of that.
Yeah, so I think it's switching it around. It's
Yeah,
always like the
exactly.
positive and negative part.
We pause it right there, right? Most people, when they get rejected, right, they feel negative about it.
Correct,
They're like,
correct.
oh, shame, yeah. People don't want to work with me, them sian. But yours different. Yours like, hey, the more rejection I get, it means that I'm working harder than most people out there. I deserve the next success.
Right.
That's a good one. Okay, shall I continue?
Yeah, so disclaimer, however, sometimes can go wrong, right?
Of course,
People think like, wow, I'm working very hard, but actually I'm not. Okay,
yeah.
But anyway, I think that's for me. I took it more in the positive light. I think momentum matters,
Sure.
right? When I was working towards the last few months, it was really like a adrenaline thing. I never felt that way before. Normally you have a lot of like inertia to prospect.
For sure.
Yeah, 5 to 6 years in, I still have that problem.
Yeah, certain audience that we.
And I'm just like, I don't really want to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think once the momentum comes in, you just realize that every free pocket of time you're trying to look for something.
Describe that kind of momentum and adrenaline so the audience can really understand.
Okay.
Let's go.
Firstly, I had a running buddy also.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was running with someone. And then it was really just we had like 4 appointments to 5 appointments every day, right? Like morning, and then after lunch, there was 1, 3 p.m. also have, then dinner, and then sometimes at night.
Yeah.
Right. And in between each appointment, sometimes you only have like this half an hour period.
Yes.
Right. So it was crazy. I don't know why we were doing that also, but every half an hour we'll be texting each other like, hey, when's your next appointment time?
Yeah.
The person will be like, 3:30. Then it was 3 o'clock. And then you say, okay, call for maybe like 20 minutes. Okay, just look through everything. So during the call, like, okay, we just do this. Okay, text the 3 people. And it was really just there was nothing. It was just my body moving.
Yeah.
Like going 5 people to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I counted on that a lot.
Beautiful.
This momentum thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I think similar to, you climb mountain, that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you just continue walking and then you don't think about any
switch
other
off
thing.
your mind.
Yeah, switch off your mind. Then suddenly your body is just moving and then you realize like you actually
I'm
finished.
there already.
Yeah.
Wow, well said.
Yeah,
well
so
said.
that's the thing.
Yeah. Recently, she just finished a hike.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. That's why she can use this analogy.
Precisely, yes.
Right. So funny how I'm extracting this very good gem from you, which is like sometimes our mind is there to protect us. The moment you silence it, right, then there's the momentum that's coming out.
Correct.
Which is like, hey, don't think, just do. Which is most people saying that, right? Hey, don't think, just do. But it's very hard, right? So how do you actually manage to silence your mind and just bring out the don't think, just do attitude?
I think, right? Okay, let me think a bit.
Yeah, slowly.
How do you manage silence?
Yeah, exactly. Because you share with us what is this, and you share with us why is it important, right? How to do it? How do you manage to do that? Was it the running buddy that supported you or what?
Definitely play a part, right? But I think the bigger thing would be that the promise and the whole I need to do this for this person is just very strong. I think the fact that it's so strong, right? It's like there's no way I can like take a seat and just not do anything and then let it be.
Understand.
Because I know the stakes lah.
Yeah. So always go back to the why again.
Correct.
The purpose is so strong and it's
that's
burning.
just very important.
So that's why don't think, just do. Okay, I just tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about, because you mentioned the word promise multiple times. In fact, I get goosebumps thinking of the story you shared with me. Why is promise so means something so strongly to you? Share with the audience.
Okay. Actually, when Daryl first asked me this question, I was a bit like, okay, don't really know what to say. And then I was just breaking it down to find out for myself also lah, right? Like actually, why is this the case? So I think I was sharing a story. So my dad, as you know, so my dad is someone that I really respect a lot because he is someone that he never scolded me in my whole life before. It was just my mom lah, being very strict. My dad was just super chill. There was no scolding, no lectures, nothing. He was really just never ever angry. I never really seen him angry before, right? And he's a super patient person. Yeah. So long story short, right? There was this day that he was supposed to fetch me from somewhere. Like he was saying, like, actually I can make it over here to fetch you, etc. In school back then, right? So, at first I was like, okay, I need to faster go home and do work lah. So from school, I was like, okay, just fetch me home already. But so my school was in Tanjong Katong Girls, I think, right? If I remember the story correctly, right? Tanjong Katong Girls, it's around east side there, right? Then he told me, I need to go all the way to Punggol or something like that to go petrol station to buy the newspaper. This was after CCA, late at night already. And like, I'm just wondering, why do you buy the newspaper for today at night? Like, shouldn't it be in the morning? Then he said, actually, it's because, right, he always buy newspaper from this place, the same petrol station, the same auntie that always knows him and knows that he'll buy the newspaper. And she also knows that she'll always reserve this one newspaper for him. Like, even if, let's say, the day very late already, right, he'll always go down to take the newspaper one. So he told me it was very late already. I think we had some event, 10 plus, that kind. I want to go home and sleep already. But I told me, sorry, we really need to go to Punggol first to go and like get this newspaper. And I was wondering, like, what's the issue? Like, why you go? Cannot just go and buy from somewhere nearby, meh?
True.
Or like just say sorry to auntie next day lah, right? And then just pay her the money lah. It's okay. Then he said, well, cannot disappoint the auntie because this auntie knows, right, that every day, no matter what, right, she saved this newspaper for me. Although it's like $1 something or like $2 only, right? It's just a promise, lor, that he already committed, like, okay, I always will get this newspaper for auntie no matter how late.
Yeah.
So that she will know that, like, I don't need to stay there and keep it for him anymore. So this was something very impactful because I think back then when younger, right, I just thought like, just very easy lah. I can buy from somewhere else. I cannot. Right. Then as I grew older, I slowly realized that, okay, this is really just commitment lah. Doesn't matter if it's an auntie or like some important person. Right. It's just that if you make a promise to someone and you don't stick to it, then you are basically selfish because you are thinking about your own comfort. You don't care whether you disappoint someone. Stuff like that. Yeah, wow. So
I need to give you a high five for that. Thank you so much for sharing that. When I was interviewing her, she shared this story. I was like, what the hell? Like, that's damn cool because she in her worldview, right, it's very subconscious.
Yeah.
Right? It's already implanted in her that when I make a commitment, a promise to people, it's just I'm like that. But I went to dig so deep. Like, why? And then she shared this story, which I think is beautiful that I want her to share with you guys. If you enjoyed the podcast so far and you're curious to experience the life coaching for yourself, to implement the methods that we teach so that you can see more breakthrough in your income, I highly encourage you to sign up for our complimentary masterclass. Click the link anywhere around this podcast, or you can check it out in any of our social media accounts. And right now, let's get back to the podcast. So now going back to that, right, with this context that everybody understands, is it very difficult then for you to make a promise? Because for you, you really commit whenever you like think through one.
Correct.
Is it happening that way?
Difficult to make a promise?
Yeah, for you.
Strangely, it's difficult because I want to make sure that I can
do surely
first.
Do it, right? Yeah, that's what I'm assuming lah.
Yeah.
Were there days where you actually broke a promise? When you were younger or like, in the past few years, were there?
When I was younger, okay lah, I have lah.
What happened?
Off the top of my head.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, of course, so there are different ways to break promises, right?
Yes, of course.
Of course, one way is you really just knowingly break it. That's messed up lah. But I think some of the promises I broke, of course, they are commitments that I made and I wasn't too sure, right? For example, even back in school, you say you want to hit this grade. You are going to do well this sem. You tell your parents like, okay, can I just get this thing? I promise to do this, promise to do that. Then we say it very casually. Of course, there were a lot of times it didn't happen. Right? Yep. I say I promised to come home at a certain time.
Yeah. And was it before or after the story that you did? The incident of that?
I think it was after, but this is before the realization.
Sure.
Like back then immature and all that, right?
Yeah.
So of course this didn't seem like anything to me. I was in fact annoyed, like why need to go and drive all the way there and then I go home very late, right? But of course at that period, still young, there are a lot of times, you promise your parents, I'll come home by 10 o'clock, but I come home a bit later. I promise to be at a certain meeting, but then in the end, you just prioritize something else. So of course, many of these things happen, even in school committees and all that, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So maybe these are some of the examples I had that.
But what changed?
What changed? I think partly, of course, maturity. Working, right? I think when we work and then I have clients to deal with, I realize we are talking about people's lives. You cannot break a promise lah. And I think because of this job also, just made me realize like, actually this is not play anymore. Not like in school, don't go committee meeting that might want. Right. But now you're actually dealing with people's lives. If you promise them to be there in their moments of like, people need to claim, stuff like that, and then you're not there, then that's serious lah.
Understand.
So yeah.
So it sounds like your subconscious thought, right, that's planted in you, right, by your dad's incident that you didn't even realize also. Right?
Yeah, until you ask me.
Exactly. And as you go about your daily life, it brings out that trait of you.
Correct.
Because you learn through mirroring, right?
Yes.
You mirror that. And that's beautiful. So now going back to another question that I have for you, right, is that I dig deeper during our interview. When you're younger, right, you share with me very honestly and vulnerably that you're not the best in school, in grades. That's not important, never mind. But you were really always the one that's raising up your hands, going for any leadership, position, right? What drove you to do that?
Okay, I think because since young, as you know, my grades I always struggle with it, right? And however, my parents' expectations are very high, or maybe my mom's expectations, mom specifically. So my dad was very encouraging. I think it was also nice that like one parent is like that, and then the other one is also
more chill.
It is a good balance lah. So my mom was very strict on me on my results. And I guess I always had this thing where whatever I do in school, right, I must make sure that I hit her expectations. Right. So since my academics were not hitting that, I felt like I had something else to prove. Right. I could do it via various ways lah.
Yes.
Yeah. For example, CCA positions and all that. So since secondary school, actually, to JC and then even in uni and even now, right, in the company, I always want to take up leadership positions because I feel that's just something I can do a bit better. I'm better at like organizing events, planning for staff, administrative things. And I thought that maybe with these kind of positions that I bring home, right, even if let's say my academics were not at the top, right, at least I'm like, hey, I'm the president of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
like
so
that's
proud.
big, yeah.
Yeah.
Not everyone can be, sometimes someone is so smart, straight A's, but they can't even do this.
Correct.
And maybe they won't even get into certain jobs just because of academics.
Understand.
Right. So I felt like I have something to prove all the time and to make people proud of me.
Beautiful. And that's probably attributed to the COT. Don't want to disappoint your mentor and people that you promised
so
to.
So that was really it. Yeah.
And then now my next question on that topic, right, of like, since young craving for all this affirmation from parents and all of these things, leadership. My next question for you, right, will be, how has that supported and harmed you in ways that you were to reflect right now? Supported you in the sense that, yes, you break through, but harm you in what sense, if you were to share vulnerably with us?
So this is based on my
past experiences or like being a leadership position, constantly craving for it, right? How has that conditioned you in the way that helped you or harm you?
Okay, so I think it has helped me. It's strange because this is literally the same thing, but can go both ways, right? So of course it has helped me because I know that I don't want to disappoint people. I'll really go and do something lah. So I really hit whatever goals I set out to do. The self-discipline comes up also. I don't really need much external motivation. Sometimes we need to find motivation and inspiration, but I don't really need to do that. I just know that I have to do this job and I'll do it well. Right. So that's of course the good parts that come out of it.
Yes.
I think the bad parts are that in life there's so many quotes around that say if you fail before, then it'll make you stronger in the future, right? And things like this. So for me, always the thought in my mind was I don't want to ever fail at doing anything. If I say I do COT, I don't want to ever fail because I scared I get into the habit of failing.
Yeah.
Or I scared that
but that's powerful.
It will demoralize me, right? But then again, I've been hearing a lot, especially now I'm trying to build a team, stuff like this, so management trainings and all that kind of stuff. Then I realized, sometimes we just need to fail like one time to actually experience it and remember how it was like, so that we don't
do it
ever
fail it,
have to do it again.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the scary thing, or rather the bad thing, as you mentioned, right? Because what if one day I actually fail?
Yeah.
And then how am I going to take it?
Correct.
Do I have the same kind of mindset as those who have failed many times before and finally reach where they are today? Right. I don't think I do. Yeah. Because I haven't experienced.
Thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably. Yeah, that's beautiful. And why I want to poke and ask a little bit of that, right? Because everybody only see the glamorous side of like leadership positions.
Yeah.
But they never see like the downside, the detrimental side of like if we constantly crawl for that. There's a sacrifice. There must be some sacrifice.
Yeah.
And what you're telling me, right, is more of like the fact that you've always been rising up, never wanting to fail. A lot of success, top. Now I'm like, what if one day I'm not top? Then shit.
Yeah,
am I ready for that? That's what you're telling me, right?
Yeah.
So share with us, right? It sounds like the way I'm seeing it, right? Fear of failure, which is something that people always use that to hold them back. Seems like you're using it for success. You because of fear of failure, you don't want to see it. Yeah. I don't know you. I constantly succeeding. I just prepare so much. I will work so hard so that I don't fail. Yeah. So you use it for advantage. Correct. That's beautiful. Apart from fear of failure, are there any other fear of judgment, fear of maybe perfectionism or whatever other fears that is hindering you in this journey? Were there? Yeah, were there any other fears? And how do you overcome this?
I guess the judgment, of course there was a bit. Yeah, I mean there was a bit of fear of like judgment on that, but I would say that still links back to the failure part. Like I don't want to later fail already, then people like, Zann never clear. Those kind of things.
Understand.
So that was mainly it. Other fears.
Fear of discomfort.
Discomfort. So I feel discomfort. End of the day, that was not anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because the desire to do this particular thing was too strong already lah. So even if it's uncomfortable, I would just do it. Yeah, but maybe now like normal day, if it's not something like what I really want, right? Then of course there will still be that. The
discomfort will come out.
Yeah. Right.
Interesting. Cool. And probably another thing that I want to ask you, right, a bit abstract, right, is that if let's say you can go back to the start of your COT year, I asked you once that the time, what would you have done differently?
Start of the COT year?
Yeah, start of the COT year. Last year, let's go back to January, right? Knowing what you know today, what would you have done differently?
Well, I don't know whether I'm going to give you the same answer as I did. If I were to turn back the clock, if let's say last year at the start of the year I decided to do COT instead of halfway through, I think something I would do. Well, let me think.
Slowly think.
So I think my time I would have a few things actually. I would have spread out my time a bit better.
In what sense?
Because towards the end of the year it was a rush already lah.
Yeah.
So I would have to say that I didn't have too much balance in my life also. It was just fully career. I really stayed
The last few months.
Yeah, like office in the morning and then all the way until at night. Which wasn't great. I wish I had more time spent with family and stuff like that. So that would be one. Of course, if I had more time, I planned from the start of the year, I would have spread it out a bit better. Other things that I would have done if let's say start of the year, I would have learned a bit more things in the beginning lah. Because I think there are different...
Oh, yeah, I remember that story. I know the story you're telling me.
Can you remind me what is it?
Yes, I tell you. So there was a period of time, right? Once you kanchong already, then you start looking for a lot of mentors already.
Yeah,
a lot of colleagues already. Oh, I see. I remember your story better than you do. Context so the audience can listen, right?
Okay.
So for Zann, right, since young, she always believes that I can do myself one. I can do myself one. Don't need to trouble people. I don't like burden people. So for her, her first MDRT is 8 months time. After that, after she said yes to the challenge, she kanchong already. She's trying to find solutions.
Yes.
Yes. So you continue the story. Yeah.
Totally. Okay. So I think back to this. I think in this business, right, I generally feel that I can run everything myself because I have self-discipline, self-whatever. I don't need accountability with other people. So, you frequently hear like a running buddy lah, accountability buddy lah, someone to keep you on track. I didn't feel I need it because I can just do myself, right? But if let's say I were to wind back the clock, start of the year to run for COT, right? This is something I realized. I realized that you really do not need a running buddy to just run MDRT and all that. But let's say you want to run further, I think the presence of like mentors around you,
coaches or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah. And someone to watch your blind spot.
Correct. Or people even just running together, every day just be disciplined together. Is very important. So I think something maybe I would have done differently was to have someone from the start, right, running together with me. Because this really ensures that you can go further together lah.
Beautiful.
And I guess unlearn, relearn.
Yeah, that was what you told me.
Yeah, correct.
Unlearn and relearn.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay, and that's 2 things. What anything else you want to add that you have done differently?
I would have done differently.
Yeah, for the COD year.
Yeah. Probably I would have really just this whole finding mentors from the start or maybe declaring from the start. Right. Sometimes we are too afraid to declare the goal.
True.
Because you're scared you can't achieve. But
yeah.
I think when you declare, that's where people know what you want to do and then they can offer help.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think once I started to tell, the guy who told me to try
to challenge.
This, right. Once I told him, then he told my boss, and then he told a couple of other people, and then when more people began to know, right, it becomes more real because they start talking about it, and then they ask you what you're gonna do about it. And I guess all these would help in your run also, rather than keep to yourself, nobody knows, can't offer you advice, feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is something I would have done lah.
Beautiful. So number 1, you mentioned time management lah, right?
Correct.
Prioritize like family and well balanced, well spread out. Then number 2, you also mentioned that openness, looking for help. Okay, and I think that all of these things are extremely powerful lah. Instead of thinking that I can do everything myself and I don't want to look weak, I don't want to burden people. But the moment you do that, actually people can support you.
Correct.
And another question I asked you, right, was that during this entire journey of being a financial advisor, what was the lowest in your entire career that you really can look back and how do you overcome that?
Okay, lowest low in the career. Okay, this one I have to think. Because I think generally for me, actually recently I was having a sharing and then so the person in charge was telling me we need to have a very touching story, like tell the audience about. Then I really think I think don't have. But maybe I can share. I don't think this is like lowest point of the career because I think as low as it can get, maybe at most like your clients are angry with you for something, right? Misunderstanding and those kind of stuff. But I mean, there's that. I think lowest point or most like emotional point would be actually when I first graduated, right? Because the first 2 years I wasn't really working super hard. Like, I cleared my loan can already, right? But when I first graduated and I was ready to pay my loan using whatever I've earned, Then I realized that my dad actually saved up the entire loan amount for me in his bank. Okay, so for a bit of context, my dad was retrenched lah, right? And then so finances wasn't too good. Parents also divorced, so alimony has been paying for like a couple of years lah. Since young, so since I was primary school, very long already. So it's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And after being retrenched, I think just very difficult lah to handle everything. But to my surprise, when I graduated, I was like, okay, I'm ready to pay my loan. Then my dad told me, oh, actually my this bank account, right, I have saved up the entire loan amount to the exact dollar just for you to pay it off. Then I say, then why you ask me to take bank loan in the first place?
Yeah.
So it's also like a financial thing lah. He just wanted me to feel like I got some commitments to pay for, but also because he just didn't want me to think about it lah.
Understand.
So I was very touched because like, wow, I didn't know that.
What a surprise.
Yeah, I actually had another bank account to pay off for me, right? And then so that was one of the most emotional parts. I was like, okay, well, this business is something, you know, I really have to do well, also for my dad, right? And then I think other things would be that recently also attended this course lah for business owners. And then my dad used to be a business owner before he got retrenched for like, I mean, he is a business owner now, but he used to be like maybe country manager, stuff like that before he got retrenched. So he has a lot of context of business owners. Then when I told him about this course, I was very excited. I like, wow, do you know that like this and that and so on. And then when I went home that time, then he texted me a list of like all his friends who are business owners. And then all the information, he was like, go and contact this guy, go and contact. Then I was like,
So
wow, I'm very touched. Yeah. So I wouldn't say lowest moment. I don't think that's I really do not have like a, you know, very low moment, but these are the maybe emotional moments.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so correct.
Because I asked the question with the context that this career, everybody would, you know, go through it and say, wow, tough, difficult, a lot of stigma. And that's why I want to understand what was the behind the scenes that you go through. But it seems like you have the ability, right, to normalize things. I think that's powerful. Which means that I give you an example. Clients feel okay, no? Part of the business.
Correct.
So can you imagine like that is your current thing? You normalize that. Okay. Imagine someone cross the road jaywalking. Normal, right? Jaywalking. Okay lah. That is what your worldview is now.
Correct.
That's what I'm extracting from you. As compared to another advisor who's like, a bad day, 5 rejections, sian, I don't want to call.
Yeah.
You're like, bro, this is normal, bro. So that's why it's like lowest low. I cannot recall. But don't have. That is how powerful that is. Some people like lowest low, or maybe free look that day, same day. That's powerful that I'm learning from you.
Yeah, actually, if I might add,
go ahead.
Like, I think because I mean, of course, on your highs, something I feel is that you need to push it down. So I think the mindset keeps changing up and down. Right?
Okay.
Of course, lowest moments. Yeah, so lowest moments, like for example, I think like I cannot clear already lah. Like because there's just too much shortfall. You know, my clients are not really receptive to this, and I don't think this is suitable for them. Also, I think just cannot lah. Right, then I will have to try and bring my mindset up. Like, hey, no, actually can one. You know, I don't have an 80K shortfall. I only have maybe 20 cases to go. Right, it sounds better than 80K.
Yeah.
Right, and I just tell myself that to lift myself up. But then, of course, when you lift yourself up, sometimes you get complacent also.
Yep.
Like 20 cases, okay lah, I still have 4 months. Right, then you bring yourself down. Hey, no, you have 80K, not 20K. Hey, not 20 cases. Yeah.
Understand.
So it's just this thing lah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think helps.
So what I'm saying, what I'm hearing from you, right, is that Zann has an ability to constantly reprogram her narrative.
Yeah.
Yes, that
okay,
she's
put it in such a nice way.
True, right?
Yeah.
She's has the ability to constantly reprogram her narrative. When she see that it's too comfortable, too complacent, she push it there. So that she feel a little bit of anxiety, a bit of stress. But when it's too much stress, too much negativity or pessimism, okay, let's have some hope.
Correct.
Wow, that's an interesting way of saying it. I love it. And one last question that I want to ask you, right, is that now you have done MDRT, now you've done COT even. And the next one usually people go for is either TOT or management, right? Or maybe other challenges in place. So what are some exciting, challenge upcoming that you have for yourself? Okay. What are some projects that you're working on that you can share with the audience?
Okay. I mean, of course, this year I'm trying to do my COT again. Same reason for why I did my MDRT a second year.
Yes.
You know, you have to repeat it to know that it's not like by luck, right? I still do have TOT in my mind in the next 3 years. Right, so this is definitely something I'm running for, maybe just not now. But I do know that in the next 3 years, this is something that I want to look for.
Beautiful.
And the way I want to do it is different also. So no longer grindy work, really just working smarter, right? But also I think something that I've been trying to do more this year was to really team build. Yeah, because I think after some time in this career, achieving a couple of milestones, I think it's time that I actually try to give back in some way. right? Because I genuinely think that this career changed my life in some aspects, and I feel that some people deserve to also explore it for themselves. On top of that, also, I guess when I was early in the career, it was really about money, right? Like, clear my loan and then earn more money, all is well, right? And then slowly as I progress through these 5-6 years, I see real things happen, right? People claiming things happening, and I start to actually understand the true impact of it. And I feel that as one person, we won't be able to impact that much because our spend is just like that.
Yeah.
Right. But I think with a team and a team with different dynamics, maybe, we'll also be able to reach out to more people. Right. Who knows, maybe a team member would be able to reach a certain different market. Right. And things like that. So I feel that's important for me in my progress also.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And when you mention team building, what exactly the kind of team members you're looking for and like attracting? So that people can know that, hey, that's someone that I want to, that's me if they hear it.
Okay. So I think firstly, someone needs to have the desire. Desire not only to, do well for themselves, but also to make sure other people are well. Right? So desire to help people, desire to do well for themselves, but also I think they need to have the right values.
Values, yeah. Describe what kind of values you're looking for.
So I think values-wise, they need to be able to do the right things. And also I think this thing that I really believe in is even in tough times, they can still do the right thing.
Integrity.
So, correct, yeah. So I think integrity, people just say like, yeah, you're very truthful and things like this, right? But I think this doesn't count because on good days, it's easy to be truthful.
Agree.
It's easy to show your values, show good values on easy days. But it's only during tough times, difficult moments, then I think true colours are out.
Agree.
Yeah, so I think this is the real test to see what kind of values.
Yeah, so you mentioned integrity. What else? Desire, integrity. What else?
Desire, integrity. I think they have to be coachable also . I think no matter what, this business is just a lifetime learning thing. Cannot learn finish.
Agree.
Even now, I'm still learning so much, and I feel that even all this time, right, my competency is just here. There's still so much more. Right, so someone must never stop learning, and I feel I need someone that can understand that.
Yeah, growth driven .
Yeah,
beautiful.
Never ever stop .
I hear you, and I just want to add one thing for Zann, right? So that she really can attract the people that's going to your side. I think that for Zann, right, she's a go-getter. Like if you want to join her team, right, you are someone who's ambitious. She really give me the vibe that she don't tolerate bullshit when I ask her a lot of questions. Okay, and then another thing, right, is that you genuinely have the identity of champion. Since young, she imbued that in herself by her mom. It was a good thing. When you're younger, probably you felt suffocating, but it's a good thing. She has the identity of being a champion for the many years growing up all the way to now. And if you genuinely aspire to be one, or used to be a champion in school and you want to be a champion in the career, I think this is someone that you should reach out to. And that's what I extract from you during our time together. With that being said, we come to the end of this podcast. I truly enjoyed my time.
Thank you so much.
Those of you who love to get connected with her, where can they find you at?
I think Instagram is okay.
Okay, can you share your Instagram?
Zanster, ZANNSTE.
Okay, we will put the link in the podcast somewhere around, okay, in the video, so that or the podcast audio, so that you guys can connect with her and reach out to her if you can resonate with her stories . With that being said, we come to the end again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.